Please be seated. Our service of memory for Nancy Dintenfass begins with a selection from Tehillim from the Book of Psalms.
Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminacha, Yomam hashemesh lo yakaka, v'yareach balayla. Adonai yishmorcha mikora, yishmor et nafshacha. Adonai yishmor tzitecha, me'ata ve'ad olam.
Adonai mi yagor ba'ohalecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? One who is upright, who does justly, who speaks the truth with her heart, one who does not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, one who scorns the lawless but honors those who revere God, one who gave her word and come what may does not retract, one who does not exploit others, who does not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken.
Adonai roi lo echsa, benot asher bitzeni, al me menuchot, yenaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglet tzedek, yancheni v'maglet tzedek, leman shemo. Gam kilech b'kitzal mavet, lo ira, ki ata imadi, shivtacha u'mishantacha, hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai, shulchan neged zorarai, dishanta b'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdafuni, kol yamei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orach yamin. Adonai roi lo echsa.
God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, restores my soul. God, guide us in straight paths for the sake of your name, even when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. May we fear no evil. May we feel you with us. May your rod and staff bring us comfort as you prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies. Anoint our heads with oil. May our cups run over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and may we dwell in the house of God forever.
As I was walking into here today, I heard this amazing story about how when Nancy was a little girl, she was driving up to Buffalo to visit her sister and brother-in-law along with her mother. And they were in an old car with a couple 100,000 miles on it, and the back door of the car never worked. Except they were driving up to Buffalo, and all of a sudden it worked, and boof, it banged open. Luckily, she held on to her mother's arm and saved her mother's life. And it feels to me like this was a woman who spent her life saving others. And I'm honored to say that I was among them. She spent her life caring for others, and so with that in mind, this poem by Merritt Malloy. When I die, give what's left of me away to children, to those who are older who wait to die. If you need to cry, cry for a sister or a brother walking in the street beside you. When you need me, put your arms around anyone and give to them what you need to give to me. Because I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. So look for me in the people that I've loved. And if you cannot give me away, then at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. Because you can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting hearts touch hearts, by letting children go that need to be free. For love doesn't die, only people do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. The Dubner Maggid leaves us a really powerful parable about leaving a sense of light even to each of us in the darkest of moments. He tells the story of a king who once had a magnificent diamond. It was unparalleled throughout the world. And it suddenly fell and had a huge crack in its middle. People wanted to split it into half, but he said its beauty is that it is whole and it is complete. No one could fix it except for one jeweler who said, "Give it to me and I will repair it and make it better than it was." The king wasn't sure, but gave it to him, and then a week later it was returned. And that diamond had the crack still. But where the crack was, it was now the stem of a magnificent rose. We can emulate that craftsman. We can take life's bruises and scratches. We can take its pain and we can etch a portrait of beauty and charm. This is something that the woman we remember did all the time. And so we pray that we can as well. When I think of Nancy Dintenfass, I see her as she was a couple of months ago at her special birthday that she threw for herself and for everybody else along the way. She was beautiful. She was radiant. She was like the queen, being surrounded by all of the people who wanted to pay tribute, family and friends. She wore an outfit that was a little bit like Joseph's coat. It was vibrant and rich with color. She had that shock of purple hair that she always decided would be her protest against cancer. And she was as she always was, smiling and laughing and full of life. I always said to her, "I love your purple hair," and she laughed. I said, "I want to tell you honestly, actually, I love everybody's hair." But she knew that her hair had a special quality for me. Today we join together as our hearts break at Nancy's passing. There's a lump in our throat, there are tears that well up in our eyes as we recall the struggle that she fought these past 2 years. And we consider how empty we feel now that she is gone. And yet Nancy lived in such a way that she would not have us stand here and just mourn. She lived with such fullness and such richness, with such a can-do attitude that made the most of every moment, that made the most of every relationship, that remembering her must move us from anguish to joy in having had her life touched ours. As many of you know, Nancy died on the eve of the saddest day in the Jewish calendar. Yesterday, Tisha B'Av, was a remembrance of our people's calamities and of greatest sorrows. It was a fast day, harder and longer than any because of when it takes place in the summer. And yet that day of fasting and lamenting is followed by 7 Shabbatot that reinforce the message to us that all is not lost, that we can find hope and we can find comfort. In Hebrew, it's called Nechemta. Today we begin as a Jewish people that move, that journey from loss to restoration, from brokenness to forgiveness that culminates during the days of awe, the Yamim HaNoraim. Tisha B'Av teaches us that there is a time to mourn. But today, and the weeks that follow, remind us that grief can be turned into gratitude, that despair can be transformed into a blessing. And indeed, this was the woman who we remember. And somehow it feels more than a coincidence that she died on the eve of Tisha B'Av. And she's remembered as we begin the journey to hope and wholeness. Because she was a caregiver of the deepest values of our traditions. As I mentioned earlier, she was a caregiver not simply by profession, but by very nature. I don't know whether what happened in that old car going to Buffalo changed her life, but she spent her life taking care of others. As a sign of how respected she was as a radiologist, when she switched hospitals, I feel bad for wherever she was because a lot of the patients went with her. They went with their beloved Dr. D. Although one has to suspect that it was that stash of chocolate she kept in her closet that may have been a little bit of an incentive as well. Dr. D didn't just read the chart. She understood that the information that she had and that she sometimes had to give was life-changing. She took that responsibility seriously. Even if she was with her family, if there was a negative report that came in, Nancy immediately put everything aside to deliver the news professionally and compassionately. Her caring was evident to everyone who knew her. She always went that extra mile to help. Now, as much as Nancy gave to others, this was not a woman who was exactly a wallflower or shy about expressing her own points of view. She could be deliberate, she could be determined, she could be driven, and ask her sons, she could be a little persistent too. With a strong sense of justice, Nancy had little understanding for those, for example, who might butt in line. And she certainly didn't like to wait for things. As she told Bruce early on, and which was very true, "I'm not a girl for the faint of heart." Those qualities, however, had their foundation in a deep bedrock of love. In taking seriously what others simply let pass, and in making the most of the time that we have been given. What was particularly endearing about Nancy was her ability to always be a little bit out of the box, and yet balance that with this powerful sense of tradition. I mean, after all, how many mothers do you know would not just acquiesce to their 18-year-old son's wish to go skydiving, but actually go with him as he literally, with his brother, took the leap into adulthood? Nancy loved the world that God created. She would have looked out at today and looked at the rain or looked at the green and said, "It's beautiful." She loved being outside. She was always, when she traveled, on the go, exploring and savoring every experience in every corner of this planet. But she also relaxed and loved the beach, some of her happiest days being on the cabana on the south shore with family nearby. How wonderful was her wide smile, her hearty laugh. She taught us to love every day and to look out on each day as a gift. To bear tribute to her here in this sanctuary is right, because the connection to God and to Torah, as well as to Jewish community, resonated deep in her neshama and her soul. She loved coming to services, particularly our informal Havurah services on Shabbat morning. And it is clear that the regulars loved her too. Because I saw it when, in these last 2 years, on those special moments, she would feel well enough to come down the stairs into services. And she'd have that small smile, and everybody in the room, everyone, each of you who I see out there, lit up. She loved the melodies. She loved the rhythm of Jewish life. She was restored by Shabbat, and she found great meaning in Jewish study. She was ecumenical, by the way, about her embrace of Torah, because she found great meaning in study at Chabad and also here in the Reform Synagogue she called home as well. How moving it was to see how so many of you, her friends, responded to her embrace of learning by having regularly scheduled study and prayer sessions with her at various people's homes. I mean, of course, always with food, because how could you do anything Jewish without food? I was honored to be at one of those prayer/study sessions. And I have to tell you, for those who were there and for those of you who were at others, I have never felt the presence of the Holy One more than I did when I saw the way you took care of your friend, with food and presence and love. Surely what stands as great testimony to the life that Nancy lived is that there are so many friends who were with her throughout her struggle. And your presence here today gives honor to her memory. That there are 4 clergy here, all of whom were touched by her life, bespeaks the quality of her character and the respect that she engendered. May we find then strength in one another, in comfort in having known such a remarkable woman. To continue to honor her memory, I now ask Rabbi Paltio, then her sons Jeremy and Jason, and husband Bruce, to share some personal thoughts and memories.
Thank Rabbi Z for those wonderful words and for allowing me to share some myself. So today, the Torah verse that jumps out at me is about a man named Hanoch. Chapter 1, the first section of the Torah. It tells us that he was more pious than anyone in his generation, and he passed young. And I quote, Vayishalech Hanoch eto Elokim. Enoch walked in the ways of God. Ve'inenu, when he's gone. Ki lokach oto Elokim, because God took him back. I'm going to read that phrase for our own Nancy. Vayitalech Nancy et Elokim. Nancy walked in the ways of God, and she's gone because God took her home. It's a sad day for us. It's a happy day for God. His beloved daughter, one in so many thousands in terms of her commitment, was taken home. As Rabbi Z mentioned, she was passed on Tisha B'Av. This year was Shabbat, so it was postponed to Sunday. But in future years, we will commemorate her passing on the day that's a communal mourning. It's a loss to all of us, the loss of this gigantic soul. You know, the Kabbalah tells us you want to see someone's soul, look at their smile. We were in the hospital room, I'm going to say it's about 3 weeks ago now. And I was told by Bruce that, you know, she's been in and out of consciousness for a couple of days. She hasn't been responding. Come over. Dedicated niece called me up the night before. You got to go see her. There's no time. We spent about an hour together. The boys were there. I forget their names since I hit 50. It's J and J, right? Jeremy and Jason. We all wrapped tefillin. We said Shema. We prayed. Friends, the smile that Rabbi Z was talking about suddenly came to life with the purple hair and all. She glowed. This woman, I don't know if she opened her eyes for a few days prior. Each time one of them was wrapped with the tefillin, they came over and held her hand and said Shema. She opened her eyes. She was Nancy, 100% glowing. We saw her soul that day. We saw that the soul is stronger than the body. Her name was Sarah. They added the name Chaye Sarah for life, which is the name of the fourth Torah portion in the book of Genesis, which speaks of the passing of the first Jewish woman who had the same name. And yet the section is called the life of Sarah. Why call the section life if she passed? To indicate that if you truly live a soul life, you never die. And on that day we saw Chaye Sarah. Sarah lives bodily. She knew which direction she's heading as much as anyone. But soul, it's eternal. And we saw it. A tefillin, a Shema, the other prayers, smiling in full glory. It's almost like she was saying to the kids, to the mishpocha, and to her husband, if you're wearing tefillin, if you're holding a kiddush cup on Friday night, if you have a mezuzah on your door, I'm good. God wants me, let him have me. I'm good. You know what I think brings home Nancy the best? We all know the Ten Commandments had 2 tablets, 5 and 5. Tablet 1 speaks of a relationship to God, a commitment to God. Tablet 2 speaks about commitment to each other. It's easy to excel in one or the other. You'll find many people who are very pious between man and God, not so much between man and his fellow, and vice versa. It's easy to be a social Jew and committed to each other, not so spiritual. Nancy brought both of them together so perfectly, while she had her own track in terms of her spirituality. And her own, you went to the house, and each one of these kids has a pair of tefillin that's straight out of Borough Park. It's big, and it's got the bag, and the plastic, and the mezuzahs every single door, and everything else. We know who Nancy is. I speak of her in present tense because to me, this soul lives on as every soul does. And yet at the same time, her strong religiosity, her strong commitment to Torah, which she studied in so many places, including from Rebbetzin Jungreis, who was a big part of her spiritual life, was not in conflict with the fact that she may remain totally integrated with the community. Didn't take away from her social friendships and involvement and love for each and every one of us here. In fact, it complemented it and strengthened it. She brought both tablets together in a way that's extraordinary. Her soul lives on, guys and gals. We know this from our faith since time immemorial, but in recent times I believe science has caught up to Torah. Science has proven, in my opinion, that life lives on after death because science has proven that energies never die. They illustrate it in 6th grade classrooms where they take a flame, a little candle, and they blow it out, and somehow they bottle the energy. And they show the kids that energy is not destructible, even matter is not destructible, but certainly energy continues to be impactful. You cannot make it disappear. And I say if it's true about a candle, how much more so about a soul. In fact, the Torah compares a person to a candle, which is why we light a candle by Shiva and Yizkor. The language is Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, the candle of God is the soul of man. A candle has two components, a wick and a flame. There's a body and a soul. The day comes that that loving wick is laid to rest, and you'll miss her terribly. You'll feel a deep gaping hole in your heart. But you need to know the emes. That flame continues to burn. It's true about a tiny flame, and it's scientifically proven. Why would we discriminate against a gigantic? It's got to be a billion candle power, a soul that lives and laughs and gives life and created mishpacha and saved so many lives. That soul lives on. That candle burns. She will give you light and warmth and guidance. Whatever a candle gives, she'll be there at your chuppah. She'll be there for job interviews. She'll be there when there's babies. She'll be there for her loving husband when he needs her. She'll be looking over your shoulder as much as before and more so. And speaking of candles, she never missed to light her candles for Shabbat. Life is like a candle. One soul lights another, creates another, ad infinitum. I suggest if there are women in this room, and I know there are many who love her and want to give her a gift, even as she is in the world of truth, I think of us on the other side like kids in summer camp. You know, when the packages come and they call you to the front office to pick up your package and everybody runs, I got a package! And the kid who's very lucky, has got a lot of uncles, comes and, oh, there's so much packages, it's not fair. When we go to the other side, we can no longer do good deeds. The mitzvahs that are done here flood the front office up there and give the soul solace and love, because it's in the world of truth. The only thing that matters there is a Shabbat candle, is a hug and an embrace to a stranger, helping someone find a job, saving a life, wrapping a tefillin. Perhaps I can humbly suggest the women in the room, let's keep Nancy's candle burning. For 12 months, let's take upon it, no one has to know, or you can tell the family, light that candle. It takes 2 minutes on a Friday evening. You cover your eyes and ask for anything and think of Nancy. As the rabbi read in the poem, see her in your eyes, because she'll be in that flame. She lives on, much as life lives on forever. And to the mishpacha, you know, I love you dearly. If you ever want to give mom a hug, wrap the tefillin. What would you give to give mom a hug? It's 12 months now. Sorry for doing this in front of 150 people. The best Kaddish, which you'll do Kaddish when you can, take out that Borough Park tefillin every morning. 2 minutes, 5 minutes. You don't need a rabbi, you don't need a minyan, you don't need 4 clergy. And just put it on and say, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Mom, this one's for you. And you'll see her soul smiling right at you. I love you dearly, and God should give you comfort. Tehei nishmat tzrura, Yitzror HaChayim, may her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life.
Thinking about what it was about my mom that allowed her to connect on such a profound level with so many people, and it felt obvious to me is that when you were with her, she made you feel like you were the only person in the world that mattered to her. She placed all of her focus, all of her energy, all of her support on you. Now, growing up, when she channeled that by doing her best to immerse herself in and support all of my interests. And when I was younger, those interests were sports. Now, my mom wasn't exactly a sporting person at heart, but she would try to learn all the rules about whatever I was playing, attend every game, and even gave me some feedback afterwards. Now, my sophomore year of high school, I decided to play lacrosse in the spring. Now, football was always kind of my sport, but I decided to give it a shot again. So during a game, I'm out on the field, and sometimes you could hear parents cheering,
good defense, let's go court. You know, the kind of standard cheers you'd expect from the sideline. Now, one play later in the game, I'm running down the sideline, chasing after someone with the ball, and all of a sudden I hear, hit him! Crush him! Destroy him! So of course, I did hit him. And I got a penalty for it. And just, hitting people isn't exactly the thing of the sport. So I'm obviously disappointed in myself for getting a penalty, making my team have to play a man down. But looking on the sideline, I see my mom cheering away. Great hit! You got him! Now, as a teenager who one maybe could say was not always the best at handing in assignments, all of that focus was not exactly appreciated all the time. However, to be frank, I would not be where I am today if it not for that unrelenting support. Countless times she could have said that was it, you're on your own. She could have given up on me, but she never did, and never allowed me to give up pursuit of my dreams. I got accepted into medical school in Indianapolis the week after she was diagnosed. And there was no part of me that could even fathom leaving when we have no idea what would happen, how long she'd be here. But I'll remember what happened next for the rest of my life. She sat me down, took my hand, looked me in the eye, and said, Jason, this is what you're meant to do, and I'll be okay. Two and a half months ago when she had the stroke, I was still in Indianapolis studying for my board exams. And first time I spoke to her on the phone after, she said two things. She said, I'm fine, and don't come home. I'll be here when you're done. And she was. I'm not going to walk up. Mom, I know you'll always be here by my side supporting me. And today, you're the only person in the world that matters. I love you forever, my Liz.
What does it mean to live a good life? Philosophers have discussed this with no concrete answer. But there are commonalities. To improve the lives of others, to have great friends, to have a wonderful family, to pursue your hopes and dreams with everything you have, to explore the world and go and live fully, to inspire others. My mom lived a good life. I look at everyone here, friends and family, and I see the emotions on your faces, the positive impact that you brought to all of our lives, the stories that many of you have told me about her. I want to share some of the inspiration that she gave me. Many of you were at her birthday where I discussed one of the major ones, put your right foot forward. To me, this stands for a lot. When I think about my mom, I think about her tenacity and spirit, the stories she told me about her life, and what she did in order to achieve her goals. That we all have the ability to choose and work to make our dreams come true. And my mom helped so many people make their dreams come true. As my brother said, the thing that was special about my mom is that she would look at you and you would feel like it was a freeze frame close-up on a Hollywood movie. Just you and her talking. She would say words and you would feel them in your very core, your soul. There was power in her words, in her smile, in the way that she looked at you. My mom was my rock. When we spoke with Rabbi Z yesterday, he asked what I'd missed the most about her. And immediately I answered her presence. And I said, I don't actually know what that means. But considering it more, it was so special to have her on my team. In good times, she celebrated with me. In hard times, she commiserated with me, that I knew that she was there. Even when we would argue, her love and the utter, core, undeniable fact of her being is that she really, really, really only wanted the best for me and everyone in our family. Sometimes this came out in ways that were tough or embarrassing, but time and time again, I'd look back on an event and I'd say, I have to admit, I learned something. I'll never forget one of our discussions where I was having trouble and I was blaming everyone and everything. And so she listened to me. She really listened, looked in my eyes, and I could tell she was hearing everything I said. And she told me about her life. She told me about her own struggles with organic chemistry, where she had to record the lectures in class, re-listen to every one of them twice, rewrite her notes by hand twice. She told me about her experience doing not one, but 2 residencies in order to set herself up to be the very best doctor that she could be. She told me about the challenges she faced, her failures, and her achievements, and the lesson that she taught me, and I think she taught many others, is there are many things in life that are hard, but God has granted us a choice. We often don't have a say in the circumstances we find ourselves in, but we do get to decide how we react and what we do in response. The goals and principles that we set for ourselves are manifested through our actions and through our lives. And she said to me, she said to my brother, she always said, I simply want you to be the best Jeremy, the best Jason that you can be. When I think about my mom, I think about the positive change she manifested in the world. I think about the thousands of patients she saw, the countless lives saved, hundreds of close relationships she had, the family events that she planned, the family that she raised. She was the best Nancy she could be.
for all of you that know Nancy, you know that her soul, Michelle, is looking upon this gathering and saying, "You're all here for me. That's just so wonderful. I can't believe it." Nancy, everything was a celebration for her. The simplest things. She just wanted to make everything really, really special. And she always had that unique ability, as my sons alluded to, whoever she was with, she would make them feel like they were the only person in the world. And she spent not only her career, but every interaction trying to help people. She just cared about everyone. And people would tell me, when she asked about, how's your family doing? What are you doing? Can I help make it better? Is someone sick? Do you need my help? It was just total sincerity. That's who she was. And I would tell her very often, I say, people think the world of you, that you're this shining light that's just coming to people's lives, and they just think so much of you. And she would say, really, I'm just being myself, and she never really thought twice about it. And that was Nancy. During these past couple of weeks, all these flashes came to me of things in my life. And I think in one of our first dates, she said to me, "Look, if we're going out, there's one thing you have to know, which is, you better not even think of lying to me." And then she said, "And do you know why?" I said, "No." She said, "Because I'm a radiologist and I can see right through you." I guess there aren't many radiology jokes for the radiologists here, but I thought that was a pretty good one. And of course, trying to be a beautiful boyfriend, I figured I would ingratiate myself with her. I would go shopping with her, occasionally. And maybe she's, I guess, picking up certain more personal items, and I'm goofball from Brooklyn. I don't know anything, And she said, I'm looking for some pantyhose, and I said, when I bring her some, she said, no, that's the wrong kind. I said, what's wrong with it? And she said, it's for a sandal foot. And I said, what kind of foot do you have? And she, sure, all the women find that very amusing, but she found that, just really, really fun. As the rabbi said, she told me early on in our relationship, I'm not a girl for the faint of heart. And I discovered that very quickly once I drove with her. I said, "Yeah, you're absolutely right about that." On our first date, we went to a restaurant in the city, Italian restaurant, and it was very crowded. It was a Saturday night, and Nancy really didn't have very much patience for waiting, as I found out in our marriage. But and there's a long line, and all of a sudden, the people all part, and it was kind of a scene out of The Godfather. There's a couple of very large men come in, and they're surrounding a guy in a fedora and a mustache with his girlfriend, and he goes straight up to the maitre d', and the maitre d' lets him in. So nobody says anything except Nancy. He says, "Hey, we were here before these people," and she said, "Bruce, are you going to say something?" And to which I said, "Well, that depends." And she said, "Well, what does it depend on?" I said, "Well, it depends if you want to go out with a guy with two broken legs." And now here's the thing about Nancy. When she heard that, she said, forget it, I'll take care of it. And she went right up to the maitre d' and said her thing. I mean, of course, the maitre d' said, I didn't see anyone go in. I don't know, what you're talking about. The boys were alluding to, Nancy could be a force, and if she thought she was right about something or had to do something, say just rules and regulations didn't always matter. And there was one very famous time, many famous times, but one in particular that I remembered. Her favorite holiday of the year was Thanksgiving, and she would always love to go. Her father had an office at Columbus Circle to watch the parade, and her whole family would meet there. Of course, living in Fort Washington has a very famous running race for charity called the Thanksgiving Turkey Trot. And the thing about this race is that they close all the streets to Fort Washington, going in and out. And you had to be, out of there, I guess, by a certain time. And of course, we were always running late, and they're not letting us out. And Nancy's trying every trick in the book to, tell them to get out. And the kids were very young at the time. She came over to us, and she said, guys, I'm an upstanding person. However, this requires some extreme measures right now. We have to get to this Thanksgiving party, so please forgive me for what I'm about to do. And she disappears, and then she comes back to the car, and she said, okay, we got it, we're getting out of here. I said, what did you do? She said, well, I just told the policeman that I'm on call, and I got a beat, to have to go into the hospital. At the time she was working at St. Francis. I said, for what, an emergency mammogram on Saturday? She says, don't talk about it, let's just go. So the police, and I thought they were just going to open the gates and blockades and let us through. But no, the police decided to give us an escort with sirens and police cars. She says, oh my God, they're doing this. And, we're going, and everyone's looking, a bunch of police cars taking us through. Of course, our car was packed with things for the kids, and as we're going, some of our friends who are here, they're running the race, and they're waving to us as we're going by. And she says, oh my God, they're taking me to St. Francis. Now I have to go into the emergency room to do that. But that was Nancy, if she felt something had to be done, something was right, she would always do it. In her career, she had a big following, which was kind of unusual for a radiologist. And part of the reason, though, was that she was also so caring. It was just not about, reading mammograms. She would hold hands, talk to the women, and let them know that everything was all right. And people just followed her. They flocked to her wherever she went. And I remembered she would come home some days and just say, have, a look of pain on her face and say, well, a young woman diagnosed with breast cancer. And I would just feel so terrible about it. But she would call and keep up with all her patients who still to this day are in touch with her and follow her and absolutely love her. And I just thought it was just such an amazing tribute all around that this person, who could be so tough, but could also be so caring. And you just hear that from everyone. Let me help you in any way that I could. And as we said, she really touched everyone. Later on in her career, unfortunately, she was sued for malpractice. It was the first time in, 35-year career that she was sued. And in her specialty, mammography, very, very common, highly litigious area. And she was very upset about it. And she said, it's not malpractice. I'm to fight him. And I said, hey, you sure you want to go through all of this? And I went to the first day of the trial, and the plaintiff's attorney was, even by legal standards, a real SOB, the bottom of the barrel. And I'm saying that as an attorney. And I said, Nancy, you want me to work with your attorney? Go home. You're making me nervous. I don't even want you to be here. And she would come home, and after every day, she would say, this guy's just really nasty. He's just grilling me on the stand, and it's terrible. And I said, why go through? The hospital's covered, malpractice, just, turn it. No, I won't do it. It's wrong. I refuse to do it. And they were seeking a good amount of damages, nearly about $4 million. But no, it's just not right. And finally, as the trial nears its end, and they're going to a jury decision, and as Nancy called them, the suits of the hospital, the legal staff, come in there and they tell her attorney, let's settle it. And they arrived at a fairly reasonable settlement. They were happy, a $600,000 settlement. But the time that they reached the settlement, the jury had just come in with their verdict. And they said, Your Honor, we have a verdict, and the judge says, it's okay, we won't be needing your service. The parties have reached the settlement, but thank you for your service. And the jury foreman had handed the judge, the decision. So everyone leaves the courtroom, and Nancy told me about this later, except her and her attorney, and the judge. And the judge turns to her attorney and said, counsel, this is highly unusual that the verdict came at exactly this same time as the settlement was reached. I'm handing this to you. You may see it for yourself. And the judge left, and Nancy said her attorney looked at it and started banging his head on the table because they found for Nancy unanimously for the trial. So the amazing thing, though, was when she went downstairs to leave the building, the jury was there. And she said, this is the most amazing thing. Every member of the jury embraced me and said, we love you, we know you weren't guilty, and, that SOB, you deserve, you just didn't deserve this. And I said, wow, a few jury trials I've had, I've never kind of seen or heard anything like that. But Nancy, even in this situation, she touched everyone, jury people who, we're just here, we don't even want to be here, but we just thought so much of her. And that's what's come across for all of us in this time that we've had here with her. Baseball aficionados have probably heard the name Lou Gehrig, the great Hall of Fame first baseman in the New York Yankees, who at the age of 36, his career was cut short. He was diagnosed with ALS, which became known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And he had set many records, most of which still exist today. He played in the shadow of Babe Ruth, so he didn't always get the acclaim that he should have. But the big record that he had was that he played in 2,130 straight games over 13 years. And finally, as the ALS was taking its toll, he was too weak to play and finally took himself out of the ball game for this record. This record existed for like 50 years. And sports writers in New York said, you know what, New York Yankees, you should give Lou a special day. And they decided, yeah, you're absolutely right. And on July 4th, 1939, in between a doubleheader, they had effectively Lou Gehrig Day. And it was the first of its kind. It was the first time that they were retiring a number in baseball or in any sport. and they had him come out on the field. Now, Lou was just a quiet guy. He didn't even want to stay. They kind of forced him to have it. And he stood impassively in his uniform while they had dignitaries, the mayor of New York, all great players, presenting him with gifts and just saying marvelous, marvelous things about him. And he was really too weak to even stand, but he did passively. And at the end of the final speech, the public address announcer said, Mr. Gary, chooses not to speak. Thank you for being here. To which the 61,000 fans started chanting, "We want Lou, we want Lou, we want Lou." So his manager, Joe McCarthy, pushed Lou forward to say a few words. And the words, since I was a kid, I always found it to be the most emotional speech in sports, one of my favorite speeches ever. And it really just came down to two lines. You could see it, on the internet. The speech was a little bit longer, but the two lines were the ones that always rang true. And the lines basically were, today I consider myself to be the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Yeah, I may have had a bad break, but I really have a lot to live for. And as I said, since I was a kid, I always just loved those words, the circumstances that were taking place at the time. And unfortunately, in my house, everything kind of becomes somewhat of a running joke. And the running joke in the house was, it had nothing to do with the speech, which I just thought was my favorite words of all time, but it was the circumstances speaking in Yankee Stadium. And it really came down to the acoustics. If you've ever been to a ballpark, whenever there's something over the public address system, there would always be an echo. So when they played the speech, so today I consider myself to be the luckiest man on the face of the earth, it would always be, today, I consider myself to be the luckiest man on the face of the earth. And the running joke in the house was, which Nancy always was the straight person for, she would always be very nervous about giving a speech. She would always go, I have to give a speech to Hadassah, I have to speak at someone's birthday, and then I would always, don't worry, Nancy, I have the perfect speech for you. And she said, really, what is it? And I always go, today, I consider myself. And of course, and I would always get the look of disdain from her. And this would go on for years. And then the kids caught on, so whenever the word speech came about, they would also go, today. And, and Nancy would just look at us like, we're crazy. So I don't even think the kids ever even heard the speech because we never got past the today part. But getting back to the speech, I just couldn't understand what type of human being could, knowing that his life and career would soon be ending, in terrible pain, stand up in front of 61,000 people and utter those words. What type of human being could really do that? And I got my answer on the occasion of Nancy's 65th birthday, because she was that human being. Over the 2 years since she was first diagnosed, obviously a lot happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't that she took it and accepted it. No, quite the opposite. I mean, her first words when she woke up after her endoscopy that diagnosed her and was given her diagnosis of stage 3 pancreatic adenocarcinoma, she looked up and her first words were, boy, that really sucks, And that was typical Nancy. It wasn't crying. I mean, of course she cried. We both cried. And I remembered early on when we were crying together, and she finally said it was also a scene out of another movie, A League of Their Own, when the manager played by Tom Hanks, one of his players, got when he was softball league, started crying. And to him, I said, "What, are you crying? You can't be crying. There's no crying in baseball." And that was kind of Nancy. She turned to me and says, "What are you crying for?" She said, "There's no crying with cancer. Come on, we got places to go. We gotta fight this. We gotta go here. We gotta go there." And she did. She fought it. And I remembered, as you've heard, Nancy's a very religious, spiritual woman. And early on, one of her friends came to her and said, "Nancy, we don't know why, but God has a reason for doing this." To which Nancy said, "Yeah, well, that may be, but God and I have to have a little conversation about that." But she just was, always trying, and even for herself. And didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable about anything. She would tell people, but for the most part, she really wouldn't complain, even going through all the pain that she did. And on the occasion of her 65th birthday, we had said to her, "Nancy, we would like just a small party for your family." And she said, "No. But I want to make a party for all the people that have helped us over these 2 years, that have helped us get through this. But I want it to be for them." And she turned to me and said, "There's a lot of these people I'm not going to be seeing ever again. But I want them to see me, to see what all their help did for me, and I'm going to be at my best. I'm going to shine." And the day of the party, she had been in pain. She was locked up on steroids. As the rabbi said, she's shone like a beacon. I want to dance. I want everyone to see me, to see what's possible. And I just said, wow, she lived her life just like we gave this speech. And I have to say, as I said before, I never got, most of the time, we never finished that speech. But today I finally give that speech. Just in spite of the fact that it's the saddest thing in my life. And my heart is broken. Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the world, because I got to spend 35 years simply the most amazing young life that there is.
We pray that the words that have been shared are a source of comfort not only to you, or to us, I should say, but to all of you who spoke. As you heard, Nancy came from a family of strong personalities. She mirrored that in herself. She honored her parents. I saw it when her mother passed away, the way she would speak proudly of them at a yard site. Her father, chiropractor, license #1. And that love for family that she learned was maintained by all of you who mourn her most profoundly. Angie, you are a family who are bound to her. Angie, I should say, you are a family bound to her by love and by commitment over time. May all that you gave to the family and all you are still yet to give be a source of blessing to you. Ellen and Marilyn, and Jamie by love. Your sister had a relationship built with you over the years. May the love that she shared for you and your family always be sustained. She was truly the best. Jeremy and Jason, it's obvious that your mother created in you what she wanted the most for herself. She saw in you men who became independent and strong, open to life's possibilities, committed to family. It's true your mom expected a lot of you, but it's obvious that you were forged by that love. And how lucky she felt that Brianna also became a daughter to her. May the high expectations that your mom had for all of you be reflected in the way you embrace every day as she did, and her memory always be sweet. Bruce, from the very first moment that you played egg toss with Nancy, you were smitten by her blue eyes and her strength. The very final breaths that she took, you were at her side. You spoke to her today in a way that touched our hearts. You are and were a remarkable caregiver. She may be gone in body, but her neshama, her soul lives on you. May that sustain you and help you embrace life as she did. And so in the end, Nancy died as she lived. She died with dignity, understanding that we are one with God in life as we are one with God in death. In so doing, she taught us what it means to really be courageous, to face each day with a brightness of hope, to meet every person with honor and respect. May that which was best about her always be part of us. May that be our nechemta as we now rise in her memory.
המצמר חנה תחת כנפי השכינה עם קדושים הטהורים כזהר כי המסירים את נשמת חיה שרה בת יואל ברשתו שהלכה לעולמה בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפל לעולמים בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest into your sheltering presence to the soul of Nancy Dintenfass, known in the household of Israel as Chaya Sarah, the daughter of Yoel and Resha Gittel. Merciful One, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting bond. God, it be her inheritance. May she have the shalom, the peace she so richly deserves. And let us say, Amen. The family will be sitting Shiva throughout the full week. There will be today from after the funeral until 5 and then 7 to 9. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday 2 to 5 only. Services every evening at 7:30. Going to ask that you allow the family to proceed as quickly as possible to the cars, given the possibility of the cemetery being closed so that they can get there in a timely way. And we'll allow the family to follow immediately after the call.